What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Money Is Show. And today we got a special guest on the show for you. If you guys know me and follow me at all, you know I love to talk about money, and I love three aspects of it, which is number one, how do you create it, how do you keep it, and how do you protect it? Most entrepreneurs don't struggle too much with the first one, but where they lack an insane amount is on those last 2 points of how do you keep it, which is understanding taxes, and number three, how do you protect it? And today I brought a guest on here specifically to help you in those two categories right there. He's an attorney in Florida, out of Tampa Bay, Florida, that helps entrepreneurs, business owners just like you. He's been an attorney now for 40 years, helping entrepreneurs and business owners just like you. And he holds one of the highest accolades you can get as an attorney, which is called the the Martindale-Hubbell Awards, which are given to him by other attorneys and judges on ethics and his ability to be a trial attorney. I also want to make sure you understand that point. There's a big difference between I'm an attorney and I'm a trial lawyer. And there is a massive, I cannot, maybe he can explain it more to you, but I cannot explain the difference of what those two things are. It's like going through a divorce and hiring a bankruptcy attorney to be your divorce attorney. It's not a good idea. So we're going to talk to Stan Padgett here from his law firm called Padgett Law. You guys can check him out at stan360.com. On that note, let's talk about how to let's talk about how to keep and protect all your money that you guys are making as entrepreneurs. Stan, thanks for flying out here from Tampa, Florida.
Drew, thank you. Great to be here.
Happy you're here. Kind of a, I don't know, I should say second home for you, but is it kind of a second home? Park City?
We like to be here as much as we can.
Now, is it the skiing, the snow, or just trying to get out of the hot weather?
It's getting out of the hot weather.
That is true, man. Florida, as I told you, I live in there and domiciled, and Florida has a unique heat that a lot of people don't understand. Even here in Utah, when I moved here, it was like, it gets 100, 105, but it is not the same as 105 in Florida. That is brutal heat down in Florida. I call it, I didn't make this up, but I heard someone say this, and I thought, this is it, man. Florida's weather is called, it's so hot, it's air you can wear.
That's right. I used to have a running partner. We used to talk about there were days when it was so humid that you don't breathe the air. You just cut it and chew it.
Yeah, you chew it, just eat it. It's fine. Mm-hmm. It's so thick. It's crazy, the heat in Florida. But I also, weirdly enough, thoroughly enjoy it too. Like once you get used to it, I like the pieces. When I land from the airport and get off the airplane, and you first feel that Florida air, there is a home feel to it as well. How long have you been in Tampa?
39 years.
39 years. Here's a unique question before I get into the money is, because we're going to do the show a little bit different today. First of all, I just want to know what made you go into law? Like why that piece of it?
Strangely enough, when I was a kid, I always wanted to be president of the United States.
Okay.
And it looked like all the politicians were lawyers. I figured that was a great place to start.
Yeah, well, it is actually a great place if you want to go down that path. So you wanted to be president of the United States, and so many of them come from a law kind of back, especially maybe not so much in the newer ones, but in the older ones, it was very, very popular. Mm-hmm. And not even just presidents, but also senators and so forth, right? They had that law degree. That's what got you into law. What school did you go to?
I went to Duke.
Duke, out of North Carolina. That's a beautiful campus.
It absolutely
One
is.
of a kind. I lived briefly in RDU and in Durham, actually. And Duke, there's Duke, UNC, and NC State, all right there. And they all hate each other inside of it. But Duke, you cannot deny, has the greatest campus, not only of all those three, but maybe from all colleges.
It's an Ivy League campus in the South.
Yeah. It has that Notre Dame, if you've ever been to that campus, beautiful Notre Dame campus, reminds me a lot of Duke. And of course they have basketball, which is one of a kind in Duke, with Duke basketball. I'm going to start the show differently. Normally I start getting into a little bit more what you do, but on this show, because I think you bring a unique viewpoint and aspect to the viewers. Because a lot of times we have so many people talking about, marketing with business and what I call phase one, which is the creating phase, right? Where you got to create money, if you will, or create the business. And you bring in a unique aspect, which I love. I think is what separated me in my business, was once I understood it's not just about how much you create, it's about how much you keep and how well you can protect what you have made or created and kept, right? So I'm going to start off with the money is science here today. And this is Stan Padgett, again from Padgett Law. I'm going to give you a sign. This is talking about what does money mean to you. We'll talk a little bit about why you put that answer, and then we're going to talk about that throughout the show today. So if you'll put your answer here, and then you sign it kind of right inside of here, we can get this started. I'll give you the Sharpie as well. And just as he's doing that, you guys remember, just go to Stan at 360, or I should say at stan360.com to follow him, get all of his websites, links, videos. You can go to Stan360, which is from a mutual great friend of ours, of Ray Press,
Yes,
360, who's also been on the show. So here we go. This is Stan Padgett's answer for money is mindset. Money is mindset. Let's talk about MIM, money is mindset. Let's talk about mindset for a little bit. Why do you feel that when it comes to money specifically, money is a mindset?
Because you're either going to attract it or repel it. The things that you do, the beliefs that you have, the way that you approach trying to create money.
Okay.
You're either going to you're going to create a circumstance, a lifestyle, a belief system for yourself that attracts money to you. It attracts not just money, but people and situations that allow you to create total financial abundance for yourself and your family. So I think there are about 8 words that you can live by that will transform your relationship with money.
Interesting.
And if you start with the things that you want to feel every day, you want to feel love, joy, gratitude, and peace. Because those are all positive emotions that attract other positive things to you.
Yeah, so as a human, you want to feel, was the word you used there, feel these certain emotions each day. And trying to repeat it back to you, it was love,
joy,
gratitude,
peace.
Any certain order?
That order.
That order is what humans want to feel. Okay, keep going. I'm following you here.
Because what you're doing is, you're deciding.
Okay.
You're making a decision. And what you do, maybe you meditate, maybe you pray, it depends on your own background. But you spend a few minutes in the morning in a quiet time before your day gets started, before you pick up the electronic device, before you get on the phone the first time. And you simply say, this is what I'm going to feel today. Those are the emotions I'm going to feel. I'm going to experience that today. And I'm going to experience it fully. And then there are 4 words that are things that you're going to be that day. Excited, energetic, effective, efficient.
So 4 words you're going to feel and 4 words you're going to be.
Right.
Okay.
And when you start to do that, you're programming your mind in the morning, this is what I am today.
Okay.
So who do you want to be around? You want to be around high energy people. You want to be people that are effective. You don't want to be around people that waste your time. You want to be efficient. So they're going to be enthusiastic about what they do. People who are passionate about what they're doing are enthusiastic. The sad sack never sells you anything. You never buy anything from them.
Yeah.
So what are you trying to attract? You're trying to create for yourself a space where people that match those values, those emotions, those actions. So who do I want to be in business with? I want to be in business with somebody who's excited about it, who's enthusiastic, who's energetic. I don't have to drag them along. I don't have to get them out of bed every morning. And they're not just efficient. That's doing things in a time efficient way, but they're effective. They're producing results that you want to produce in the shortest time possible. That's where you create money.
Yeah. Okay. Before I interrupt you here or jump in, are there any other points you have there? The 2 main topic points there were, here's how I want to feel, and here's who I want to be. Is there any more that you go down?
In terms of creation, now take those feelings and take those actions and apply them to whatever your business is.
All right. So let me ask you a couple questions. Number 1, and this is just out of pure curiosity, are these 8 words? Are these 8 words that you created, words that you've learned over time, words that you've learned from a mentor that said, here's how it works? Where did you come up with these 8 words or 2 pillars, if you will?
I think it's a synthesis of the things that I've read, done, the people that I've been around, and experimenting with it myself.
Yeah.
How do you keep a positive attitude when the rest of the world is falling apart? I mean, we've seen the world fall apart in the last year and a half. With COVID, then you go back a few years, we've gone through 2008, we had the real estate market crash. Bad stuff is going to happen to good people.
Sure.
It's not a question of, do you want to react or do you want to respond? If you've created those emotions, you're prepared to take those actions, you have the ability to respond and not react. And you can find opportunity anywhere. I would bet that some of the best deals you've ever made came out of some of the worst situations you've ever been in.
Yeah, I mean, even my biggest growth, I would look back and tell you it came out of my worst, darkest moments. was some of my biggest growth in personal life and in business is from the darkest times, right? Inside of it. And I think so much that has to do with the main word, which is the money word that you use for money, which is mindset. It's how you view that bad time. And bad times are going to come in an entrepreneur. They happen sometimes daily, sometimes, right? It's us solving problems. And sometimes the bad thing that comes are massive, and sometimes they're just a normal bad problem. One that you just mentioned, COVID. I mean, talk about we had to have a massive shift in our business model because we were in an event-based business is where our main focus was. Well, COVID shut that down. There was no more events whatsoever, right? But it was looking at what my viewpoint immediately was, or my mindset was, okay, what is going to be the outcome of this new way we're going to go? It was not about, oh my God, we just lost $100 million a year company and it just shut down. And it was not about that. It was about, oh man, I can't wait for the new thing, the new opportunity that's going to come from this side of it. So mindset is extremely important. But I want to go back to money is mindset, and mindset is, you're talking about, it's attracting money to you, not repelling it. Go a little bit deeper into what that means, because I think it's a big piece that people don't understand. I think when they first, as an entrepreneur, when I first started, I didn't come for money. And I always give this illustration that sometimes I would find myself chasing money, and you can't chase it. It's a mirage. It doesn't exist. It's like the water in the desert. It's not actually there. It's a mirage. You can't chase money to ever get it. And I fully believe you have to attract money. I fully believe that's the way that money works. Talk a little bit more about what you mean when you say money is a mindset and attracting money to you. What do you mean by that?
Many people come from backgrounds where they have a lot of limiting beliefs about money.
Yeah.
Scarcity beliefs, beliefs that it's wrong.
Religion beliefs.
Religious beliefs that money is the root of all evil. Or they grow up in circumstances, look, I didn't come from a family with any money. My dad was the first person in my family to ever go to college. So they start with the idea, I mean, he grew up on a cotton farm in the deep South in the 1930s. Born at the height of the Great Depression, living on a subsistence cotton farm, never had accumulated assets. So he didn't have lessons he could teach me about that. So where do you start? What do you do that? And there's a great book by a guy named Gay Hendricks called The Big Leap.
The Big Leap.
I would recommend every entrepreneur read it, because what it says is all of us have limiting beliefs. They're not necessarily all in the area of money, but they often are. And what they do is they cause us to self-sabotage.
Right.
So you're attracting the right things, but you're not comfortable. The example I like to give of it is, we all have a thermostat. We have a temperature range that we're comfortable in. It's 78 degrees on the top, it's 68 degrees on the bottom. If it's higher, we're too hot. If it's too cold, okay, what happens? Things in our lives, monetarily, relationship-wise, they start to go really, really well, and all of a sudden the thermostat gets up to 79 or 80. I'm not comfortable at this temperature, so you sabotage that relationship. You've got that person of your dreams that you've attracted, and now you push them away. Well, the opposite happens. If things are going really bad, circumstances are terrible, and the temperature gets down to 66, okay, now I have to take action. This is not comfortable anymore. I'm going to do something positive. I'm going to get back. But that range is a limiting belief. So what do you want to do? You want to change your thermostat from 78 to 88 and then 98 into 100. So where you can accept all of the blessings, benefits, the great things that you're creating in your life, and you don't think of all of the number of people that are actors, comedians that had it all and have ended up taking their own lives. They couldn't handle their own success. Get rid of limiting beliefs, realize that you are worthy to have it. What are you going to do with it now? You're going to make a lot of money. Are you going to share it? Are you going to take care of other people? Are you going to take care of your family? You're going to help underprivileged children? Are you going to help veterans who are disabled, who've paid a price for us that's unimaginable, them and their families? What are we going to do for them? How do we use that? And that's all it all fits together.
Yeah. When this is something that when I was young, when I thought of the word mindset, I literally would say the word, this is a Southern word, I'd say hogwash, Southern word. And the reason I would say that is, in my mind, I'm a young entrepreneur, and I'm like, these people are talking about mindset, and I kind of attach mindset at that age to like positivity and almost like a motivational speech type thing, type of stuff. And I would literally like rip on to my buddies and friends about, mindset. And it wasn't until I got older in life when I realized the one piece, because I was always like, well, who cares about mindset? Just go produce. And if you produce, you're going to have results, and the results will keep building. And it wasn't until I got older in life that I realized the main thing I was missing back then was mindset. It was absolutely a mindset that I had the talent for what I needed to go do right in life. I had the capabilities. I had the ability to go do it. I had all these other ingredients you could say, but the one thing I didn't have was the one thing I kept saying was hogwash, was mindset. And it's so true how mindset drives and it attracts what you want. Inside of it, there's a person that was in here recently, was on a show with me, and we were talking about a little bit of mindset, but we started talking about, he said, think about this, man. He said, when Elon Musk starts a company, okay? He said, if Elon Musk was starting a company, now you think about his mindset of when he starts a company, where in his mindset would you see him saying, this is not going to work? This will probably fail. Like, entrepreneurs starting to say, oh man, 9 out of 10 small businesses fail. Like, now think about Elon Musk. Do you think he would ever say that when he starts a company? Like, he has no, in your definition there, his temperature is so far up here. When he says, I'm going to go start a spaceship company and we're going to go to Mars, he 100% unequivocally believes, without a doubt, he will be on Mars. Like, it's not even a question in his brain. And the guys, when I was talking to him, his whole point was, now imagine if you had that belief, that mindset inside of your business. But we don't. We have that temperature. And even if we don't acknowledge it, it's still there and it's dictating what we do.
One of the issues, too, is that we don't realize how many different ways our mindset's effective. My oldest son, when he was about 17 or 18, said, Dad, I want to get into real estate. That's what I think I want to do. I wasn't the real estate guy at that point. I wasn't going to be the mentor. I said, I'll find you somebody to talk to. Took him to meet with a guy who was in his mid-50s, was completely retired, income-producing properties, made all his money. And he agrees to sit down with my son for a half hour or so, and they're talking. And he looks my son in the eye and he says, I can tell you exactly how much money you're going to make for the rest of your life. What?
Wow, yeah.
He said, you're going to make the average of your 3 closest friends.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Because you are attracting to you, in terms of friendships, relationships, people who are thinking the same way you are. If you're basing your choice of friends, the people you hang with, on those limiting beliefs, they're going to reinforce your limiting beliefs. And they get uncomfortable when you start to break out. You start to become successful.
Yep.
Often you have to change your friends. And it's not normally even your choice. They walk away because they're not comfortable around you anymore. You've outgrown them.
It's so true. I can't think of anything. They say, I've heard in growing up, they would say, you're going to be the same person you are now, except for the books that you read and the people you surround yourself by. And I'm a reader. I love reading books. But I felt as time grew on, books were like a slow drip of change, right, as a person, because books and people are going to change me, right? And reading books was, in my office, in my room, wherever it was, and I was reading it on vacation, reading a book, and I felt like, oh, this is some really good stuff. But it was like, I compare it to sometimes the Chinese water torture of change. Like, it's just a slow drip, and it's good, slow drip. But when you get around people, it can be, if you're on the right people, massive change very quickly if you're around the right people.
It's just like when you want to buy a house or you want to buy a piece of real estate, wouldn't you rather buy the least expensive house in a really nice neighborhood? Because that's going to raise your property value.
Yep.
What you want to do is you want to be in a group of people, whether it's a business group or other, that you don't want to be the smartest, most successful person in the room because you'll play down to their level. You want to be around people who play better. If you're a tennis player, do you get better by playing people at your level or people who are much better?
One way.
On one way. Go get beat a few times.
I saw, like, when I play golf, I hate playing people that are worse than me. Not because I don't like playing with them, but I'm competitive, and I want to be around someone who's going to beat me on that golf course so I can see what he's doing, why he's doing it, how is he doing it, so that I can get better. If I'm on a course where I'm playing golf, you wear a golf shirt, and I'm playing with someone who's below me, which I do all the time, and it's part of playing with golf, but I'll find myself being more lackadaisical, and I'll
Mhm.
find my score almost 100% of the time will go down, and it's because of the competition and who I've surrounded myself with in that golf outing there with people. And business is the exact same way.
That's right.
Money's the exact same way.
You're not as focused when you're not challenged.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're really around a group, if you get around a group of billionaires, if you're in a group with Jeff Bezos, you're going to raise your game. And I'm going to tell you, you're going to be so focused on every single word that those guys say. Because how can I take that and apply it to what I'm doing? That's how I'm going to get better.
So let me ask you this then. Let's go to the flip side of it. We're talking about we want to be around people that are better than us, or I don't want to say better, but it doesn't matter just to be business. It could be about if you want to grow spiritually, go get around 3-5 people that are hyper focused in that arena of spirituality and faith, and you can grow fast that way, right? And in business and in money and relationships, etc. In this topic, we're talking about money and business here, and we say, hey, we want to be around 3 people that are bigger, better, more successful than we are in business. And we don't want to be around, people that are going to drag us down, like our friends. I mean, it happens all the time, especially when you start off. But my question to you is, how do you get around those 3 people, or convince those 3, 5, whatever it is, people to be around you when you are the smallest of the group? Because then their mindset would be, well, I can't get around you because I don't want you to drag me down. So, and obviously I do this all the time, but I want to get your viewpoint of how would you tell the listener when they are the smallest one, how to get around that person?
For me, I think it's really easy, because successful people are never threatened by other people's success. They celebrate other people's success, and they're willing to mentor because they've been through the struggles. They know, but they're also not typically going to go out and say, "Hey, Drew, look, I see what you're doing. I think I can help you." They're not arrogant about it in that way. But if you come to one of them and say, "I see where you are. I see what you've accomplished. I see what kind of human being you become while you're doing that. I would really like any advice you'll give me, any coaching, any mentoring. I'll hang around you, I'll follow you, I'll shadow you. I'll work for you. You don't have to pay me. I'll intern for you. I don't care if I'm 35 years old. I'll be your unpaid intern for the next year. If you'll let me sit in your business meetings and learn how your mind operates." That's very few of them would say no.
Yeah.
Because they want to grow people. They want that's part of their success, or part of their, when you get beyond the financial, you're looking for legacy. You're looking for leaving something behind. How about raising up another generation?
And it's very true. I mean, I'm mentoring some young people right now, and part of it was unique because they came to my office for something. I can't remember what it was. He's 19 years old, I think, and he came to my office for something. And he wasn't asking me for mentorship, but just as I started talking to him and he was in entrepreneurship and so forth, it got to the point where I said to him, "Hey, look, why don't you just come to my office like once a month? I'll carve out an hour once a month. I'll sit down with you." And I literally was pitching him on the concept. Okay. And my point of saying this is, it proves your point in the fact of, I think there's this for a lot of people and different levels of it, but I think there's this point where people want to sincerely help someone else. Like, I sincerely want to save someone of the pains, the headaches, the mess ups that I did. It's like, my God, let me help you in this piece right here, because I think I get value here in your life. And I'm mentoring. There's a couple other ones that I kind of, I'll call it mentoring. It's not like a mentoring program, but it's me trying to lend support, advice, stuff for these young people. And I agree with you. I think people want to naturally do that when they hit success. They want to try to help other people. You got to find out what fits on their terms and how they want to structure it and do it, because they're doing their own life and so forth, right? But if you can do it, man, it is a total win for you. The other piece I was going to say is, let's go to the next level, right? That's like the startup person. Let's go to a person like me right now, right? And I have this level of success, but I want to network with, I'm 39. You say I'm in my growing phase, which I agree with. I want to network to the next level, which is 100% accurate. I think there's but I think there's one main way that you do that, and I'm going to get your input on here, and it's by me trying to find constant value that I can bring to that person in whatever it is that they do. I lead with value to those people so that I'm not coming to them as a dead fish or an anchor or whatever it may be. I'm trying to constantly add value, and I will research and study what they love, what they do, hobbies, whatever it is. And as soon as I can find something that I say, boom, I have resources, contacts, whatever it is in that, I'll go apply that into that world. What do you think about that side of it, of when you're at a level that is successful, but you want to go to the next one? What do you think about adding value first to that relationship?
I think in every business, you start with an exchange of value.
Yeah.
You want to give more value than people expect for the money that they're going to pay.
Right, right.
And if it's a personal relationship, it's exactly the same. What you did when you did that research is you committed time and energy to them, and they realize that. The only way Drew could have known that I like to fish and hooked me up with the best charter captain in Florida,
yep, whatever it is,
is if he knew that I wanted to do it. That's somebody who cared to learn enough about me. I want to learn something about them. And now you're actually starting to raise yourself to their level because you're coming to them, giving them something instead of asking for something from them.
The other thing that I noticed that it does is, when you start a business relationship, right? And I'm networking with business people, we're talking about here, when I'm trying to grow and go to the next level, is that in a business relationship, when you start off as strictly business, and it's kind of a transactional type of business, right? It takes time to build a real relationship, right? Like they're not built overnight. And when you're in business with someone, it takes time, and you're doing business back and forth with this person, and they want to see you deliver here, do this, whatever it is. I found the way to expedite that whole process is go find something they love and help them in that arena, like we were just talking about. And in my opinion, especially when it's business, relationship, but I hit the friend side first and I research and find something. What happens is it skips like 2 years of developing because people always help their friends. That makes sense. Like I have friends, and if they ever called me, I would immediately go help them, right? But then I have business associates that I'm in a business associate relationship with. It doesn't mean that you would call me to help me on a friend thing, right? But when I go do what I just showed, talk about there, it was like I skip years of building.
You do, because there's an old saying that your net worth equals your network.
Yeah, for sure.
Except that's only partially true. Your net worth equals the strength of your relationships with your network. You just skipped over a couple of years of getting to that relationship, but that's part of the process of being successful, is saying, hey, I'm going to bring value, but I'm also going to be friends. Part of what I've done over the last decade, after about 30 years of practice as a trial lawyer, I'd seen virtually every mistake business owners could make.
Yeah.
From contracting to employees to everything else, to setting up their partnerships, to doing it right, doing it wrong. And I finally decided, how do I really add value? What I can do to add value is I can create that relationship and say, Drew, look, I know you only had me do this transaction, but let me tell you, these are things you're going to run into over the next 5-10 years as you grow. I can short circuit a lot of the hassles you're going to have over the next 10, but let's go ahead and talk about all of the mistakes I've seen other people make, so that you can learn from the benefit of my other clients' experience instead of having to make all those mistakes yourself.
Yeah.
And that's where I've spent a lot more time over the last decade of working with business owners, entrepreneurs, helping them set them up correctly, clean up the messes. I spend a lot of time still litigating business divorces. And if you think of a personal divorce as bitter and ugly, a business divorce where there's enough money for people to fight about, that'll last years. I got one right now.
Throw an IP to it and it gets really crazy.
Exactly what I got. I got one that's a family dispute, and there are currently 6 separate lawsuits between these family members over one business.
Yeah. No, I love your approach to it, because I think you bring a unique side to it where it's not just that you're a trial-based lawyer. I like what you actually do and forgive me because I forget the exact words, but it's like
Business prosperity program. Partnership prosperity program, really.
Because so many entrepreneurs, myself included, we get into partnerships a lot of times out of the gate early sometimes when we don't understand everything, have all the pieces in place yet. And it's like, oh, well, you're in real estate, I see this all the time. It's like, well, I want to flip houses and you're a contractor, so why don't we just partner up and we'll go to flip these houses? And It's like, first, I would tell you bail on that idea really quick. But I love what you got going on in this prosperity partnership program, because you're not just bringing the lawyer contract experience to the table, you're bringing the partnership from the, hey, listen, in all these 40 years, here's all these business divorces. Okay, here's how we can set this up where we can try to avoid as much as humanly possible if something happens. It's almost like a prenup for businesses.
That's exactly what it is. A great example is the young guy who wants to get into business, wants to get into real estate, for example. He's going to do the work, the flipping, and he's going to go get an older investor who's going to put up the money. They're going to own things half and half.
Sure.
Well, those guys are at such fundamentally different stages of life that they are going to have at some point, no matter how successful this business is, the older guy or lady wants to say, I'm really done.
I'm tired.
I need to be, I'm looking at legacy for my grandchildren at this point. I want to separate. If you set it up with this business prenup, there's an objective, reasonable, fair to both sides way for this person to get their money out, the younger person to continue to be able to build, grow, accelerate, and do it in a way that doesn't cash strap the business the day you start.
Mm-hmm.
If you set that up in the documents, now it also takes a ton of stress out of the relationship because you now know whenever you grow to the point that you're going to go. And every business ends.
Yeah.
That's a problem that business owners don't get. Every business ends. The only question is whether it's successful, unsuccessful, wildly successful, or other. It's going to end. We talked about a little while ago, Kodak.
Yeah.
Had 165,000 employees globally. A Dow Jones 30 industrial stock that is gone. Bankrupt, gone, doesn't exist.
Yes, it's not there anymore.
So any business owner who thinks I'm in love with my business, it's going to last forever. Well, how many businesses there were that were vinyl records, that were CDs, that were cassette tapes, that were blockbusters?
Mm-hmm.
Those are concepts that grow. The economy is constantly changing. And if anything, the pace of change is accelerating.
Speed or faster.
Technology is just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
The things we can do on our cell phone, I promise you, everybody who's listening to this has more computing power in their cell phone than NASA had when they put a man on the moon.
Yeah. You got to think about that for a second.
That's
crazy.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
So be prepared. It's proactive.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do it right up front, it makes all the rest so much easier.
Now, is there actually a quote unquote legal business prenup, or is that just the illustration?
Well, it really is. It's called an operating agreement or a shareholder agreement.
Yeah, but it's not called a business prenup.
It's not a prenup.
They should freaking make one. I swear they should make one.
You probably ought to trademark that name.
Oh.
That's exactly right.
But that's really what you guys are going in. And I know you guys do a lot more than this, but I just like it because you're going in and either helping partners that are starting and or partners that already are in existence, but
sure,
they got into it not knowing everything. They became successful, but now they need to actually take a step back and sit back down and say, okay, but how is this structured, and how are we going to go do all this stuff now that we do have money, and how does that look? Because man, you talk about there's two different viewpoints of what one person thinks I'm building this to sell this, and the other person thinks I'm going to keep this and pass it on to my children one day. You have some big bridges you guys got to figure out, and so you kind of provide not just the legal side. My point is you also provide a little bit of counseling, consulting, whatever you want to call that, coaching with these partners as well.
It is. It's because the business relationship is really no different than a marriage. When the partnership, when your spouse relationship breaks down, you end up in divorce.
Yeah.
When the relationship with your business partner, your business associate breaks down, the divorce is coming. It's just a question of when.
Yeah.
So why don't we try to work that out? And sometimes that's helping people understand what their real strengths and weaknesses are as managers. Are they great with finances? Are they the one who ought to be looking over the finances? Or are they the tech person? If you got the person who's the great, outgoing, great with people, and you got them doing accounting, what are you doing?
Right,
Come on,
right.
Let's figure this out. Let's let each of you play to your strengths, and then let's go hire your weaknesses.
Yeah. Let's talk about entrepreneurship for a second. Obviously, you got 40 years yourself being an entrepreneur as a lawyer, but you also have a unique experience because you work with entrepreneurs nonstop for 40 years. What do you see, let's say outside of the partnership for a second, what do you see as one of the biggest mistakes that entrepreneurs are making as they are inside their business?
Not diversifying out of their business.
Okay.
When you're in the building phase, often you're reinvesting all your money. If you're you know, even if you're on an online business, now you're reinvesting all the profits in new Facebook ads and new Instagram ads and whatever it is you're doing these days. And you're not taking, even though you're growing enterprise value, you often see entrepreneurs that are very asset rich on paper, cash poor, and they have no assets outside their business. So if the extinction level event happens in their business, if they had 28 Blockbuster franchises and Blockbuster closes down, you go from financially secure, in fact, taking money off the table is an issue for your family for generations, to broke overnight. Get to a point where you can start to move some chips off the table, move them into a different business. If you're in online marketing, maybe you want to be into real estate, maybe crypto, maybe there are a ton of things, but don't leave all your eggs in that one basket called your business. Get some of it out and get it out early. Grow your wealth in other places. When you get to the point where your other asset base is producing enough income that it wouldn't affect your lifestyle to lose the entire business, then you're successful.
Hey, that's a great analogy that I've never thought about it that way. It was like, if you, on your other asset side, like how do you gauge like where you're at? And it's like, well, if this is your main business and you have these other, whatever it is, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 different assets that you're playing with over here, as soon as this makes enough money that if this thing went under tomorrow, your lifestyle wouldn't change at all. That's a great place to be inside of, right?
That's exactly right.
But there's just kind of this like theme that goes around right now that I feel is just, you know, with markets that change and cultures and so forth, there's this theme that has been there where it's like everything's about pouring it back into the company, It's almost like this braggadocious thing of like, oh, I don't even take a big salary. I don't even take a lot of pay from my, I just pour it all back into the company, right? And it's almost like this braggadocious moment that people are, kind of our society of entrepreneurs live inside of. Where would you say that, or when should the entrepreneur start diversifying from their business? Like, where do you see that happening at? Just out of the gate?
I don't think necessarily out of the gate. I think there's a period of time where you know your life is not going to be balanced when you start a business. You're going to invest a lot of time and a lot of money. But you have to find, and maybe it's a year, maybe it's 2, depends on the growth curve of the business. Some of these internet businesses grow wildly, 3 to 6 months.
Right.
But when you start looking at your business and you define it as successful, but your revenue is $10 million and the net income is $200,000, you got to start making some different decisions, because would you rather own a $2 million business that made a 50% margin, made $1 million, or a $10 million business that made $500,000?
Right.
Why bother? Why do 10 times the work to have half the money?
Right.
It's about bottom line. It's not about gross rev. Now, there are some SaaS businesses that trade on multiples of net revenue. Okay.
Kind of a weird thing that happens, like,
you know, for the old financial guys, the old
it drives them crazy.
You look at it and goes, wait a minute, you're 40 times earnings and you have no net revenue. I mean, I don't get it.
Yeah.
And if that's the business that you're working, that's the world you're playing in.
But that's a unicorn, though, to be clear. Though.
I got it. Yeah. And I got it. When you got a company that's trading at 20 to 40 times net revenue,
right,
or gross revenue even sometimes, okay, then I get reinvesting and doing that. But if you're doing that, you better have a very definitive plan and timeline to get out, because that's the world that changes the fastest. Do you think somebody else is not going to come up with a disruptive technology or disruptive SaaS platform that makes yours go obsolete overnight? Take some chips off the table. Even if you say, hey, I'm going to go get private equity to come in. I'm going to sell off 45%. I'm going to keep running it. I'm going to sell off 60%. I'm going to keep running it. And I got some upside. I'll do that deal all day. Sure. I would tell people, do that deal all day. Because you've now taken generational wealth off the table and you've got upside still.
Yeah.
That's great. But remember, in that SaaS model particularly, the wonder child of today is not even here tomorrow.
It's true. Or I mean, even look at MySpace. Like, remember that one when that came out?
That's
like,
right.
Where's that thing at right now?
Well, what's the one that was based in Utah that was doing the office space compared to Regis?
Like the WeWork one?
That's it.
WeWork. Yeah.
That was great guns. COVID blew them to pieces. So those kind of models, you look at it going, I'm going up, I'm going up, I'm going up. Great. Make sure you don't fall in. One of the 7 deadly sins of business is falling in love with your business.
Yeah.
Build it to sell it, have a target. When you can take enough money off the table that you can live where you want, how you want, with who you want for the rest of your life, take that money and then build something else.
I'm gonna put you in a spot a little bit here. You're giving a lot of great advice. I'll put you in a spot a little bit. You just mentioned the 7 deadly sins of entrepreneurship. One of them being falling in love with your business. Off the top of your head, do you have memorized the other 6 of them?
Not all of them, but I can give you some.
Yeah, give me some. Give me some.
Starting without an end in mind.
Okay.
Not understanding what your own strengths and weaknesses are. Raising money wrong, meaning too early, too late, too little, or not raising smart money.
Mm-hmm.
Difference between smart money and just money. Smart money brings something to the table, maybe experience, maybe contacts. It's Shark Tank.
Yeah.
Shark Tank, you're going to get a little bit of money, but you're going to get Mark Cuban, or you're going to get Mr. Wonderful, or you're going to get one of these other sharks who has contacts that have massive value. That's smart money, but it's raising money wrong. It's not planning for your employee. How do you deal with employees? Easy way for a small business to do that, outsource it. Use a PEO. Let somebody else hire them, do all the compliance, do all the HR work, all the HR. Why are you doing your own payroll? You get to get these companies that got somebody they're paying $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year to do payroll.
Yeah, for 7 people.
ADP.
Yeah.
Come on, man. 1.5% of payroll, done. You just saved money and you eliminated risk. You eliminated liability.
Yeah.
They got a massive insurance policy. Don't be afraid to outsource. One of the things I see in a lot of different training, they say work on your, figure out what your strengths and weaknesses are. Let's work on your weaknesses. No.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Dumb.
I hate when people say that.
Hire your weaknesses. Work on your strengths.
Yeah.
Great book. I don't know if you ever read Gary Keller's book, The One Thing.
The One Thing, yeah.
Awesome book.
Keller Williams.
Keller Williams. Yes. Built Keller Williams Realty. He said, when we started with 15 corporate priorities, we grew. We cut it to 5, we grew faster. We cut it to 3, we grew faster. When we came down to the one thing that we're going to do as a company to add value, growth went off the charts. Exponential growth. Emphasis on everything is emphasis on nothing.
Yeah.
Find out what you're great at. Do that. Hire everything else.
I mean, we're all born with different strengths and weaknesses. It's part of being born. Like, you're not all born equal. We're not all born with the same things, right? Like, there's just strengths and weaknesses that we have. And again, as a beginner entrepreneur, I just kept trying to stay. I'd find something I wasn't good at, and I would start working on it and developing it, and trying to grow into it. And eventually, one time I was with somebody, and they said a great freaking example to me. They said, "Look, let's say go 1 to 10. Let's say you're a 8 on people skills." And he said, let's say that you're, I'll make something up here, you're a 3 on accounting skills, okay? He said, now you could go work for the next 1.5 to 2 years on developing your accounting skills, and you'll grow. You will grow. He's like, it's not that you're not going to grow. You will grow. You put the time into it. You're talented. You put the time into it. You'll grow. Let's say after that first year of you devouring education and networking and into that, you grow from a 3 to a 5 on that scale 1 to 10. And then he said, let's say that if you went on your high side of strengths of people skills, let's say, and you developed that, actually studied it and stopped running just off of talent and so forth, and actually built out to understand it deeper, you go from an 8 to a 10. Now, in business, if I sat here and said, hey, great news, Andrew, I could hire you someone right now that will do all your accounting for you. Now, they're not great. They're maybe average at best. They actually don't even enjoy doing it. But you could hire them now, and then maybe they're a 5 on that scale. What biz do you know that's successful that hires 5s on a scale 1 to 10 on their strengths inside of business? And it's like, oh, you're right. Like, I would never, when I go hire someone, I'm not trying to hire someone who's average at best, who actually doesn't like doing the task. I want to find someone that, man, they were built for it. They wake up and enjoy spreadsheets. They put their family vacation on spreadsheets because it's just how their brain operates and works. I want that person working, let's say, on my finances, right? That's a 10 on that. And I'm going to go be a 10 on what I do. But I'll never get accounting in my life to a 10. No matter how much I try, it'll never actually get there. There's no way. It's humanly possible. Maybe a 5, maybe a 6, but not a 10. And I want to, if you want to grow, you need 10s, like 10s on those places to go grow. And I hate it when people go that road of like, well, you should go practice and grow that. This is not a hobby called golf for me. right? This is a business, and I'm not trying to slowly grow a accounting skill. I want to go hire a 10.
Your accounting for me is IT for me.
IT for you?
I mean, I'm 2 generations too old to be doing IT. That's what I have grandchildren for.
Yeah. Turn
But
this
when
iPad on.
I'm not going to hire, I'm not going to
Yeah.
try to learn that. It's a
No.
waste of my time.
Yeah.
The things that I'm really, really good at, where I can add value to other people, that's what I need to be doing. I'm going to go
That's
hire
your
the IT guy as a 10.
Yeah. And he loves IT.
That's it.
He wakes up and wants to break down computers and figure. Like me, I have zero desire to go do that whatsoever. And I think it's the point that a lot of entrepreneurs miss as they get out of the gate. And there is a point, to be fair, as an entrepreneur, that you do have to wear lots of hats when you're launching and starting, and you got to do a little bit of this and a little bit of this. But you got to get rid of that stuff as fast as humanly possible and stop trying to grow in that area. And as soon as you can hire that thing out. Like you said, and it's not even that expensive. We're not saying go hire an accountant. We're saying you could go to the PDO and have them go do payroll and HRs and stuff like that for you.
I'll give you an easy example. I ended up being a trustee for a client's trust after he passed away, fairly large trust. His wife needed a helper, an employee, to take care of him for a while before his death. I hired ADP. I put him on ADP's payroll. I never did a paycheck as a trustee.
Yeah.
It was dumb.
No,
Just like, come on, man.
Yeah.
You can put 1 or 2 employees on ADP or on another payroll service, and you don't ever have to do that. And you can get a bookkeeper or a CPA who balances your checking account every month. You get somebody who does your accounting work that'll give you a dashboard. Says, this is the red, this is the green, this is the yellow. Here's the number you need. This is a problem today. This is your cash position.
Yeah.
And all you got to do is turn your computer on and look. Done.
Yeah.
And it's not expensive.
Right.
The smaller your business, the less that costs you. And you got to start valuing your time. Assign a value to your time that reflects what you'd have to pay somebody else to do your job. And if you can find somebody to do that other task at a lower cost than your hour, get it done. Because otherwise you're wasting the most valuable resource, people, and it's you.
Yeah. Tell me this when it comes to entrepreneurship in your 40 years of entrepreneurship and being working with entrepreneurs from a lawyer standpoint. What would you say is the hardest lesson that you've learned as an entrepreneur? Hardest lesson that you learned?
Not being willing to fail fast enough.
Ooh, that's a good one. Let's talk about that one for a second. Not being willing to fail fast enough. Those 2 last key words right there are extremely important. Okay, let's break it down.
Every person who's truly a creator and innovator is going to have business failures. Probably if you go back to Elon Musk, you go to Richard Branson, you go to all these guys, they're going to have some failures before they have successes. They don't dwell on the failures. Kevin Harrington, one of the original Sharks, friend of mine, great. He says the same thing. You fail quickly. When you find something that's not working, you can make the changes in it to see if you can adjust it. Certainly you don't just give up. But when it becomes clear, this isn't the right concept, this is the right time. I started a new video store 2 days before Blockbuster closed.
Right.
Closed the store.
Yeah.
Why sit there and pay employees for a year and a half? You're not going to sell anything.
Right.
The concept didn't work. Move on. Learn lessons. What am I going to learn from this? How am I going to apply that to my next business? Close the door, cut the losses, move on.
I think a lot of people talk about learning how to fail, right? That's a topic that is super important, is learning how to fail, because every entrepreneur goes through it. Every entrepreneur battles with it, et cetera. You know, I've had them, you've had them. But again, it's the key words you use of learning how to fail fast is so critically important inside of entrepreneurship, because you may spend 4 years on a project just running your head into a wall. And this is tricky because I do think that one of the prime ingredients, if we're going to put ingredients of what makes a great entrepreneur on the table, a prime ingredient that I think is always there in an entrepreneur is this thing called, whether you use the word grit or determination, that is always a prime ingredient. But inside of it, that's a double-edged sword, right? Because that same grit, determination that will make you successful will also keep you inside of a business for 4 years, running your head into a wall because you're in the wrong business. And you got to find a way that quickly sets that apart and says, okay, where are the KPIs that I need to hit inside of this amount of time frame that will allow me to allow the business and the market to decide if this is good or bad, if this is for me or not for me.
I'll tell you, one of the easy ways to do that is you'll find out how hard people hold on, And it typically means how little planning they did before they started the business.
Mm-hmm.
Did they really start with a business plan that says, this is my market, this is my competition, these are the KPIs, here's where I ought to be in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. Now they have an objective thing before they fell in love to measure performance against.
Mm-hmm.
And now they say, okay, I tried, but the market's telling me they don't like this product that I thought was going to sell to every household in America.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't become the new toothbrush.
Mm-hmm.
It's not there. Maybe that's 5 years too early, maybe it's just 5 years too late. Or I'm doing pet rocks and it's right after that, or fidget spinners or whatever. But if I started with a real business plan,
Mm-hmm.
and there's easy software out there that'll let you create one. It'll prompt you everything you need to go, well, I don't know that. Great, go research it. That's what the internet's for.
Mm-hmm.
Let me fill in the blanks. Now I know what I really need to do and what this should look like if it's gonna work.
Mm-hmm.
I now have a much easier picture to measure my business against. And if my business is here and this is what this should,
Yeah.
it's wrong business,
Yeah.
wrong concept. Do it again.
Yeah. That is such great advice of learning how to fail fast. Such a great concept. So that was one of the hardest lessons you've learned in business, going through business. Let me ask you this question as we come to an end here. What would you say is, if that was the hardest lesson you learned in business, what do you think is the piece of your business that you've learned that has helped you propel and grow the most inside of your business? I mean, 40 years into this, and I think you just have a unique view because it's not just 40 years in yours, it's 40 years in yours plus all these other ones.
Mm-hmm.
What do you kind of see as like, what's that thing that you, whether you sometimes you stumble across things, or you stumble across it, read it, learn it, network, but setting aside some of the things we've already talked about, what do you think is that one thing that you say, man, this piece right here has significantly helped me in business? This helped you grow the most, if you will.
I think it would be finding relationships with people that have a similar mindset.
Go back to the beginning answer to the end here. Finding people and building relationships with those that have similar mindsets. Okay, what does that mean to you?
It means that I have this wonderful relationship with a woman I've been married to for 45 years.
And she came here on the show with you.
She came here with me. She has much better instincts about people than I do. She's not a business person. She'll tell you that straight out. But for many years of our marriage, I would come home and I'd say, hey, honey, this is what I want to do. How did this sound? If she said, that sounds okay, it always worked.
Yeah.
But when she'd say, I don't know, that doesn't feel right. I'm the man. I'm going to do it anyway.
It's hard.
Every single time I did that, it cost me time, money, hassle, or usually all three.
Yeah.
And I learned that may not be my strength.
Yeah.
Is immediately evaluating people. So very common for me, she's going to go to dinner with somebody before I'm going to do business with them.
Yeah.
And after dinner, I'm just going to say, what do you think? I like them.
It's so unique that you say that. I'm going to tell you something that I would never normally say, but I want to put emphasis back on the truth that you just dropped, right? You brought your wife in. You brought your wife into the show. She sat in our meeting in my office, Brian. And one of my, I hate talking about myself, but one that I would say is a gift that I have, and this is not one of my highest strength of gifts, but I have it, and my dad has it the most. That's where I kind of picked up on it, is discernment, and especially discernment of people. I have a pretty good sense of being in the people business for so long, of getting with someone and kind of discerning, not if they're a good business or bad business, but just discerning them as a kind of a business human, if you will. I don't know how to say it. Anyways, I was in my office today while you and your wife were there. Her name's Linda, and you were on this side of me, and I was talking to you about something, and she was sitting over here kind of on the left-hand side. And there was a moment in our conversation, we were probably maybe an hour into it, that I literally said to myself, Linda is discerning you right now. I'm not kidding to you. I said this. I said, Linda's discerning you. Meaning that I felt like she was, I don't know if it's because I kind of do the same thing, but I literally felt, in a positive way, not in a negative way. Notice I didn't use the word judging. She wasn't judging me. That was not what she was doing. She was literally discerning as me and you were talking. And I had this thought, like, of whatever her feedback came back from, she's going to tell you tonight. Like, literally, this conversation I had in my head 2 hours ago, whatever it was, sitting in your office about your wife, and because she was there, and I was like, man, no, she's discerning right now, and she's gonna tell Stan how she feels about you, or about, I don't say about you, but you know what I mean, about the inner core being, if you will, kind of those core ethical things tonight. Literally, I had that, and it's funny that you said talk about Lyndon and that ability that she has as your wife, your partner, and boy, it is sometimes hard to listen to.
It is.
It is hard, but she definitely has it. I'm telling you, she has that. Well, you know this by now. If you don't know this by now, you're really screwed.
It's a long, serious, and expensive lesson, I will tell you.
Yeah.
I'm slow, but I am trainable.
I'm slow, but I'm not dumb. But man, she does have that like gift and skill set. So it's a great one that you picked up on it and listened to her, because she definitely has that ability for sure.
I'll give you one thing that's kind of interesting. We were looking at the plaques out in the hallways
Mm-hmm.
we came in, and they were talking to us about, what is your word?
Mm-hmm.
And you know what her word is?
Tell me.
Security.
Security.
Money is security.
Okay.
Because she is very risk averse.
Mm-hmm.
She just simply wants to be able to take care of her children, her grandchildren,
Mm-hmm.
and that's really it.
Mm-hmm.
So for her, that's exactly the right word.
Mm-hmm.
Money is security.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think you find that you find that a lot. I think sometimes is the partners sometimes have literally totally different viewpoints on money. I've interviewed couples on the show together, and their answers were different. And I find a lot you see it a lot of times where you see the word security because she wants to take care of her, her influence, if you will, right? Which is her sons and daughters, right? Her kids, her grandchildren. She wants to take care of the nest, if you will. And it's a little bit of like, and I don't want to say this the wrong way, a little bit is that mother hen protective mentality of when I view money is I'm going to secure, protect what's the nearest and dearest to me inside
Exactly
of it, right?
right.
Yeah. And I think you see that a lot, especially when you see, and I'm using this because you said this, where you're more in the business side and she was not in the business side, but you use her as the discernment, the yin and yang, if you will.
It's a great
in your guys'
resource.
relationship. Yeah. And for her, that's what money means. It's security. It means, no, I'm here to take care of, I need to, it's my responsibility, it's my duty as a mother, as a grandmother, et cetera, to take care of this group right here to make sure they're all there. It's unique to see how relationships work inside of businesses, because it is tricky. I wish someone, and maybe they have, and I just haven't read it, but I wish someone would write a series, and it's not me. I can only tell you the failures side of it, but I wish someone that was an expert in this topic would write books on how to work with your significant other, whether it be, sometimes the wife is like one of our friends, Pam Jordan, right? She's the wife, but she's running this big business, right? How do you work with the husband-wife relationship in entrepreneurship world? Because it is freaking tricky. And I have burnt relationships in marriage, and it was like looking, you're in the moment, you're like, how dare you? But looking back now, I was like, oh man, that was totally my fault on that, because I was the entrepreneur and I'm running, chasing, and in a certain way left the relationship. You know what I mean? If you think about it that way. And I wish someone would write a book on it, or a book series, because it would probably take a series to explain all of it on how to work with relationships, husband and wives, instead of entrepreneurship.
I haven't written that book yet, but I have written one called Unveiled, Secrets to a Marriage That Lasts Forever.
Okay.
Because
Unveiled Secrets of a Marriage.
Secrets to a Marriage That Lasts Forever. Because there really are principles of successful relationships, personal and business.
Mm-hmm.
They can be taught, they can be learned. There are patterns
Yeah, there's
of
patterns.
successful relationships.
Sure.
And you got to have the opportunity to grow and build. And look, at the end of the day, if your significant relationship, your home, is solid and happy, you can fix anything in your business.
Mm-hmm.
If that primary relationship is unhappy, is miserable, it doesn't matter how much successful you are, how much money you make, you're still miserable.
Yeah.
So where should you make sure you spend enough time?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a tough one for entrepreneurs.
Well, it's you're saying it, I'm agreeing, and I'm subconsciously disagreeing at the same time with you, because it's so true. And you see, now 38 in business, it's like you see so many mistakes and errors that you made, but it's so true. If you think about it, sometimes when I speak, on stages, now as I speak on stages, I'll talk about like, hey, we all went to entrepreneurship. Okay, why do we, most people that, especially they don't come for money, it's like, why did you get in entrepreneurship? And it's like, well, I wanted to provide a better future. Okay, better future for who? Well, for my wife, if it's a guy, my wife and my children. And I said, okay, you want to provide a better future for your wife and children. And what would that look like? And you start having like, just talk out loud on the stage. Well, I'd spend more time with them. I would do this. And unequivocally, one of the answers is I would spend more time with them. And I'm like, listen, the very thing that you're trying to accomplish, you are ignoring it the entire time you're trying to accomplish it. Because I think entrepreneurs, again, myself included, especially when I got started, it was always down there. It was always one day, this is gonna happen. One day I'm gonna spend time with my kids. One day I'm gonna take my kids to Disney World, whatever it is. And one day never comes unless you make that day show up. Like, you have to make it show up.
I'll give you the last stage I spoke on. I was speaking to a group, business group, and I said, let me ask you guys a question. How many of you use your calendar? Got a phone? All right. How many of you are busy? All busy. Look in your calendar. Show me the time you blocked out in your calendar for your husband, wife, and children.
Yeah.
All I saw was the top of heads because nobody wanted to look at me. Like,
it's not prayer time yet.
It's not there. But you know what? That's something entrepreneurs really need to take away from it.
Yeah.
Look at your calendar. Block time on your calendar for your family now, because if you don't, they may not be there when you're out there.
Yeah, when you're ready.
When you're ready,
accomplished it,
they may be gone.
Or even if they're there, you've missed things that you never wanted to miss, justifying in your head as an entrepreneur that one day you won't, but it took you so long because it was always down the road and it was never enough that you've missed some of the things that were there.
That's the key one, the never enough.
Yeah.
You start out in business, you often say, particularly if you come from fairly humble beginnings, if I made $1 million, I can't even imagine. I've done it. Well, then you get to $1 million and it's 5. Then you get to 5 and it's 10.
Or $1 million a month.
$1 million a month. When is it enough that you're going to stop, or at least slow down, and pay attention to these people who've helped you get there?
Yeah.
Who patiently waited, but patience runs out.
Oh yeah.
And I promise you, if you lose your family, your business will never matter to you.
Yeah. No, yeah, I know you say you haven't written one specifically on that, but you should want to put that thought in your head. Just because I think someone that needs to write it from the end, not the beginning of the entrepreneurship, relationship. They need to write it 40 years into it, of saying, hey, and of course, in anything, it's about being authentic and vulnerable, and it's about talking about, hey, here's the mistakes that we made. Here's the mistakes that I made. Here's the mistakes that she made. And almost co-write it would even be cool, right? Like each chapter be from both sides of it, talking about it. Oh man, I'm creating a really cool book idea right now.
I'm going to talk to her as soon as we get done.
I mean, think about that. Like, if saying, like, if you took, how you talk about the 7 deadly sins of an entrepreneur, right? And you kind of go off of that theme, and you said, hey, here's the, 12 chapters, but the 12 deadly sins of entrepreneur relationships, or entrepreneur marriage relationships, right? And then you write, you create your 12 chapters of the 12 deadly sins, or what do you want to call them, or the 10 commandments of relationships. And then you have, you write it from your standpoint, and then let her write it from her standpoint, and then merge the two together at the end of that chapter. And the next chapter is both sides of it. And authentic and real information like that would be freaking priceless. And especially being able to hear from both sides of it, right? Of, hey, when I was young, here's what I was doing, and here's the mistakes that I made. And then you hear from her side saying, what he didn't understand was, while he was out building this, I was at home by myself. We didn't have kids at the time, right? And it's like, I was totally forgotten for saying, oh man, that'd be a good book. And then how do you fix it, right? Then you have wrap the chapter up into, here's how we solved, and here's what we recommend to fix this piece of it. And then next one. Oh, dude, that'd be a book, a speaking tour. That would be a counseling line. That would be all kinds of business from that one. Man, if only I was successful at relationships, I would do that. But perhaps you and Linda should go look at possibly doing that one, man. That's a deep one. And think about how many people it would help. Like, how many entrepreneurs that would sincerely, truly help, So I'm going to put a seed in your head, and I'll try to keep watering it for you.
Okay.
I know how it works with entrepreneurs, right? It lets you stew on that while you're here for 2 weeks in Park City, together with family, and your grandkids are coming, and Man, what a great book. All right, Stan, on that note, again, Stan at 360.com. We didn't even talk that much about your law side. We talked about all entrepreneurship, which is I love because I think it had so much value to the viewers and so forth. But again, Stan at 360.com, helping entrepreneurs really in relationships. I mean, if you stop and think about it, right? Like the whole partnership program that you have is really about relationships and helping them through that side of it. And not even if you're not in a partnership, having the ability to know how to structure, how to protect those assets, right? There's tons of examples you could give on protecting the asset side of it. And I love it. And I don't want to say this. We may have to pause this in a second, but I'm going to say it, and then you tell me if you want to pause it. That asset protection goes really, really, really deep. And I wanted to make sure that I had an attorney that knew the furthest, deepest side on the other side of it, right? Which I think is part of the offshore trust and different islands that are out there, right? And that's one of the things that I know that you know. And I wanted an asset attorney that knew not just where I'm at today, what I need to go do, but I wanted an asset attorney that knew where I wanted to go and how to help me protect it on that side as well, right? And that's another one of the things I love about you from the asset protection side is as deep as it goes, that's where I want my attorney to be at. So, Stan, I love having you on the show, man. I love having Linda here in the office, and I hope the viewers enjoyed it as well. You guys watching, this is the Money-ish Show. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to Stan from, make sure I say it right, Padgett Law. We'll see you guys next week on the Money-ish Show.